Hello, my name is Paul Mordetsky. I am a local artist. I'm here in my studio in Hightstown, New Jersey. The South Brunswick Arts Commission has asked me to put together a series of videos that will help you to draw the head more successfully. This is not meant to be a full portrait course broken down into short 15-minute videos. Instead, it is an introduction to concepts and practices that will help you achieve your goals. There are 5 videos. The first one will be about the geometry of the head and how that pertains to anatomical structures. Number 2 is mapping and measuring. Mapping and measuring is how we get closer to a true likeness and making sure that we capture what we're actually seeing. Number 3 and number 4 will be about the light and shadow aspects of drawing a head. And number 5 will kind of wrap it all up and summarize the preceding videos. I hope you enjoy these, and I hope that they help you in your future endeavors. When people draw a head most of the time, they draw it pretty much like this. They draw it as a pie plate with features. They sometimes can manage to add more information to the pie plate. They could make it a little cuter. They can do all sorts of things. But essentially what's happening is they are just drawing features on a flat surface. They're not drawing anything that can be hit by light from a particular direction and have some sort of lit side and not lit side. They're not drawing volumes. So what we need to do is make sure that we're doing precisely that. We need to draw the head more, or think about the head as some sort of a box in space. And it doesn't mean that we draw the box exactly. It just means that we think of it as having a side that might be hit by the light, a side that is not hit by the light, something that sticks out that might cast a shadow on, say, a neck, that might create a darker cast shadow. That we can't think about features being flat on the box. We have to think about the nose as projecting, which means it has a lit side and an unlit side. And we may think about eye sockets as having some kind of depth to them that creates shadow areas, and lips as having shadows. And we may get something that's a little bit more like that. Now, of course, that's not very head-like, but that's the idea. So let's take a look at this photo of me and break it down into some simple ideas. So first of all, if we look at it, it's a very dark photo. There's the back of the head. There's this side of the head. And at this point, you can see there's a shadow here. So we can kind of see that there's a division here, that all of this is on the side, and more or less this is all on the front. And in fact, that's closer to us. Here, that's further away, that's further away. And we want to start to capture that kind of thing. So we might start by drawing a back edge. I can see that that to that and that to that are about the same, and that this is a smaller amount than that. I could think of the head as kind of doing this. Forget about that top part for now. And that this is also going in space like that. And this is moving back along here. So I've got some kind of basic idea that says this is turned one way, this is turned that way, that we can see this from here and we can see that from there. So let's see where we can go at this point. I know that this point on the head, on this point on the ear, is about midway up the head, and I could kind of mark out how I see that and know that if I trace that up, I would ultimately I would divide this to that in half. You'll have to take that on faith right for the moment. I know that the distance from the bottom of my eyes to the very top of my head is about half of this distance, so I'm going to want to kind of figure out, remember this is a little higher than what I put here. So let's go this way. Let's go this kind of goes out like that because your skull goes out, and then it goes up to the top. So if I just did this and kind of brought that up, and then that is coming down like that, it goes down to the middle, and that's out here. So if I were to do that and bring this down here like that, then I will have established kind of something about this middle line, this outer edge, this place where it turns, this high point that's coming down here, and we'll see what else we can get in here. That angle, I was thinking about this to this. So look at this angle, that to that is about the same as that to that, and that's about the same as that. So if I just kind of did this roughly to start, and I took that angle and I marked that out, and I just put a little line initially for that, and maybe even a little bit of a line down here. That's a start. Now, on the eyes, you see that this goes up and that goes down, right? And that is relating to the forehead, right? So your brow goes up, your brow goes down, because your face is turning from the front into this kind of in-between front plane that's turning to the side and this side plane. So where is that point? This is where that is. That's moving over a little bit. So let's just say it's about here, and we have this high point, and this is the brow. I can look at an angle for that and put that in. Now, doing this, this is not going to look just like this photo. It's really just a demonstration of these ideas. So we know that that's there, and we know that that's kind of coming up at a certain angle, and it's very hard to see it here, but my brow, my socket goes in and my cheek goes out. So if I were just to kind of do something like that and see how that plays out there, and then see how that plays out. Now this is coming down to this side point, so let's bring that down like that. And earlier I said that my eyes are about halfway between the top and the bottom. So my eyes are kind of sitting on a line somewhere like that. Now what's happening here at this point, this is coming down, and now this is coming forward. And it comes forward, you can see, it does other things, but you can see that it comes forward towards the barrel of the mouth. So this is coming down here, and then that's coming there. And that same thing is going to happen here, and then this is coming in. So that's going like that. That goes out a little bit. That heads in a little bit. Then this is heading out, and then this is heading across. So the first thing is you kind of want to do something like that. Find this, right? So this point is here, and this is a little bit over. So you would just look at that angle. And then this is going out, and then this comes up like that. So we find that ear. We can think of the ear as a simple shape, just doing this and then that. So at an angle like this, and most of it's covered by the hair. And then this jawline, we'll talk about anatomy more next week, that is doing that to that to that. Now this is coming up like this. So in a little bit, then up. It's very awkward drawing and trying to avoid the camera that is right next to me. It's very unnatural. I'm going to keep erasing my thinking lines. So I've got that angle, and there has to be something kind of like that here. You can see it, and it kind of plays out like that. So up, changing, changing. So kind of mirroring that, but we can't see it so well. The end of the eyebrow, it's kind of going like that, and then it's kind of coming like that, and then other things are happening. And everything is adjustable. This is just thinking, just marking. If you were drawing anybody particularly, then you'd want to say, well, how long is this line? How long is this line? Where does it end? What is the angle in here? This is part of mapping and measuring in many ways. Not in many ways, exactly part of mapping and measuring. So now let's start plotting out something about a nose. It's got an angle. Whatever that is, that's what it is. This goes down in, and then your nose is kind of, it's got a top right part, a top left part, and then a left base. So once you kind of find that in the socket, that's doing that. And then every nose is different. My nose is kind of hanging down a little bit. So I would want to approximate that end, and I got a skinny nose. So again, all we're doing now is just laying stuff out and not thinking about details, just positions and geometry. Now you can see this line, which is called the nasolabial furrow, and on older folks, you can see it clearly. On younger folks, it's just a little bit of a depression. So nasal labial, it's kind of coming down like that. And again, whatever it is here, that's what it is here. And we can't see it here, but it would be doing something like that, and that forms the barrel of the mouth. Now let's come down here to the nose again. There's a little darkness here. It's a dimple on me because I have very narrow lips. It's not much, but on people with full, stronger lips, that could be quite a shadow. So think of it as a middle line, though it's not exactly middle, and certainly mine, I have kind of crooked lips as well. But this is about the middle, and this is what's closer to us, was closer to me and the camera when I took this photo. So that line would be indicative of that. And that would take us to the middle part of the lips, and this is going away from us, and this is going away from us towards the nasolabial furrow. So now I'm going to have to do some adjusting. You can see that that is starting to be kind of a human head. Doesn't look a whole lot like me, but I promised you it probably wouldn't. And let's see what else we can do. So now this point, you can see that comes down, it goes down, and that like that. So we're thinking about how the jaw would come out by getting this geometry, let's go up here by the ear and get the back of the neck. And that's coming down, and that's coming across, and the other part of the neck is here, and that's lost in shadow. And then there's this, which is part of a muscle called the sternomastoid muscle, and that's coming up like that. And it kind of creates a V shape and ties into your clavicle. And then that kind of goes up like that. But we can't really see much of that stuff. Let's this hairline is following just like that, and then it goes like this because it's following that. And then this is doing what it's doing because I'm losing my hair, but it comes in, so it's kind of following that and following that and moving down into here, and then up here it's going back, and then it's coming up to here, and it goes around my head, and there's some little bit of hair left in there, and I'd have to readjust that and get that angle more and better. Trying desperately not to knock over the camera. So that's almost a basic geometry. So let's try some other stuff as well. Let's put some of these shadow shapes in. So that's in shadow. These lips come down to a point and then up and then down. So they come down to a point, they go up, and then they go down again to a little dark point. And again, thin lips, so a thin shape. I don't have to draw much. I can kind of just thicken that. This shadow shape goes under the nose, encompasses the nostril, and that's what it does. So now I'm going to not make it black, just darker. What does this nose do? It goes like this, and then it changes direction. So it goes like this, and it changes direction, and it goes back and back. And again, I'm trying to do this kind of grossly. I'm not trying to do it exactly. There's a cast shadow in here. This whole thing is in shadow, so it's just a shape. And again, bring that down in value. Maybe change the angle of that cheek. This is coming in here, and we can't see it because it's in darkness, but it's actually kind of doing something more like that. And this is coming out, and then it's changing direction, and it's changing direction, it's changing direction. So this is why that geometry is important. It's because we need to see these changes of direction, and then we need to see how that creates new shadow shapes. So the lips are in shadow there. And we'll be going into shadows and all of that more, but this is just an overview. This goes up, down, up, and again, we're just going to put a kind of middle value in. Here, shadow. This is darker, but it's still, if we squint at it, that is kind of one big shadow shape. So the eyes are, I think, always, maybe almost always, inside of a shadow shape. Even if it gets lighter, like the whites of the eyes, it's still going to be within this general shadow. Let's come over here. So this is going like that because that's my cheek. This is called the zygomatic bone, and I don't know what this is called, but you can see its shape. We're going to be putting it in more or less as straight lines, more than trying to nail it precisely. So what we can say is that all of this is in shadow, and then it starts to fade away as we get out there. Now under the neck, there's a shadow shape, and that shadow shape is following the neck. And we're just going to simplify it. I'm just going to draw the neck to here, even though we can't see anything here. So again, first, this general middle gray. So we're saying what's in the light and what's not. And then if I needed to, I could and it would be hard on that image to find more information in there to describe that. Lips are kind of coming out like that. The chin does this. And that's doing that. It does that. This part of the hair is darker because that part is getting light. So I would want to get the geometry of that as well. And I would do exactly the same thing, which is to darken it like this. Later I could darken it more. And always, just kind of adjusting. Just because you drew it in the first place doesn't mean it's correct. So this is in shadow. This is kind of partly in the light. This is coming up like that. You can kind of get rid of that line for now. What we're really looking for is just the way geometry and lights and darks build that head. So I don't want to start drawing features, but I do want to show you that, again, this is a geometric shape, and it's getting darker in there, darker on the top rim of my eye. I can start to include that kind of information, but it's really too soon for that. It's not really what we're looking for at this stage of the game. What we're looking for is just shapes and adjustments and a sense of the geometry. So you can see that starting out kind of a boxy and simplified way, I'm able to create a head that, if it doesn't look quite like me, because that's more mapping and more measuring and more concrete thinking and more adjusting, then I have at least a head that is believable as someone. And this just allows me to, now I'm going to deliberately ruin it. Because I'm going to show you that what I have here by just drawing those shapes is a top plane for the nose. The implication of a side plane, an implication that this cheek is moving out like that this lip is doing that this chin is doing that, but this part is doing that whatever's happening here relates to that in that way, and that the forehead is also relating to it in that way until it begins to change its orientation. So we want to create this geometric sense that there's a center line, and that center line runs down like that, and it goes down in through the lips and down and right to the center there, and it would run under your chin and down to the center of your neck. That this line would follow over the bridge of the nose and down into here and up into here and across. We're really, look, this is portrait drawing, is to think about all these movements in space, that angle is that, and that angle is that, and that's changing direction like that. That's it for today. Something about the geometry of the head in relationship to anatomy. Anatomy issues for this last second: the zygomatic bone, the nasal bone, that nasolabial furrow, lips and noses and stuff, the bony part of the chin, what's called the temporal line. Those are all really, really important. So I hope this one was instructive, and we'll pick it up next time and try to map and measure a little bit better with possibly a different photo.